Carefully remove the horns from both sides of the head on the door lining with a handsaw. Place the door lining into the opening in the wall and check the margins around the outside of the lining. Insert pairs of folding wedges over the top of the jambs, between the head of the lining and the top of the opening in the wall. This will hold the door lining temporarily in position, whilst the position of the lining within the opening can be finely adjusted. In normal situations, the lining will protrude the faces of the wall by the thickness of the finishing materials. For example, if the lining was installed into a timber stud partition with plasterboard applied to both sides, then the lining would extend approximately 3 mm. This is approximately the thickness of the plaster that will be applied at a later stage. The head of the lining should be checked to ensure that it's level. If not, packing will have to be inserted under the foot of one jamb until it's corrected. The vertical jambs of the lining will have to be plumbed next on their face side and edge with a long spirit level. This will not only ensure that the jambs are plumb, it'll also make sure they're straight. Once satisfied the lining's in the correct position, it should be sighted through. This is simply a process of looking through the lining between the edge on one side of the lining through to the opposite edge of the other jamb. Your eye should be drawn along the length of the jambs to ensure that the lining is not twisted. The folding wedges can now be inserted behind the lining at the same fixing point as the stretchers. Inserting the wedges at this point will prevent the jambs bowing. Bore several holes through the foot of the jamb into the folding wedges before inserting the fixing screws with a cordless screwdriver. Using pairs of fixings across the width of the timber prevents the lining from cupping and twisting, both of which could affect the operation of the door. Continually check the jambs of the lining are plumb to ensure they've not moved through the process of fixing. Repeat the process of fixing the lining at the top of the jambs on both sides. The screws used to fix the lining are self-countersinking, so there's no need to use the countersink during this process. Continue to install 2 further pairs of folding wedges along the length of each jamb between the top and feet of the lining, repeating the process of fixing either through or below the wedges. This will ensure that the wedges stay securely in position in the event of shrinkage in the timber or any movement in the frame. The portion of folding wedges that protrude the faces on both sides of the lining should be removed with a handsaw, before removing the temporary diagonal bracing and stretchers from the bottom of the lining.